the space game magic is gone. UCF loses to Houston 30-27 and falls to 4-5 on the 2025 season. What went wrong and what needs to be looked at as the bigger picture, especially the end of the game? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Charge On. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green, and as always, we are sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Guys, again, we always say it. If you're looking to bet on UCF or any of the sports, whether that be NBA, NFL, college basketball, college football, FanDuel is the place to do it. Obviously, the line was Houston -1.5. They covered that. Nick got the score prediction spot on. He literally said Houston 30, UCF 27. So he should have made a bet on FanDuel this past weekend. If you want to make any bets on at all, use FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and a proud sponsor of the Charge On podcast. It is 2:30 in the morning. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. Whenever this game got announced, I knew it. I said, that night is going to suck. And you know what would have made it a lot easier of a night to digest? A UCF win. Whenever there's a win, it's much easier to digest. Stay up late. Work. Not here. UCF obviously falls. If you tuned into our Charge On post-game live show, it was very entertaining, or at least I think it was, and we hope you enjoyed it. Listen, everybody is talking about, and on my way home, I did listen to the Scott Frost press conference, and I do want to not share some sentiments. I want to agree. I just did some weird thing with my eye there. There's some in my eye. I do want to agree that I do think the direction that UCF is going in, people can get behind. And I do think that the direction the coaching staff is going and coaching gives me confidence that UCF is on the right track. And I think that's the positive that you could take from it. Tonight was a situation where UCF is losing these games in a way that makes you scratch your head. You know, Taven did not play well all game. He really struggled to find any rhythm. He really struggled to be accurate. But you go into the half up 7. And you come out of the half and you just look flat. And that's not really a shocker. That's something that we've kind of been accustomed to with UCF at home. You look at the Kansas game, it was the same thing. UCF started out fast, was really just firing on all cylinders, and then the second half, they couldn't do anything. In this game, they scored 3 points in the second half. You know, it's funny. They put Preston Cushman up on the podium during the postgame. And Stephen Leonard came on our postgame live show and mentioned that, you know, he basically said a couple things that were not meant to be out of pocket, but they kind of were. And one of them was when they were talking about the quarterback injury. And Preston basically alluded, he's like, he literally said, he said, I forgot exact wordage, but or verbiage, but he said, I didn't know about any hamstring injury. Scott Frost can say whatever he wants. There was no hamstring. There was probably a hamstring injury. I'm not going to sit here and say that there wasn't. All I'm saying is he made it very clear. Scott Frost said there was a little bit of hamstring injury, and we knew they were going to be sending some guys after. We needed a quarterback that was basically going to be able to run away from it if need be. What does that tell you? Listen, I get it. If it was necessary, you make the move. And it did give UCF a spark. And there's no denying that it gave UCF a spark it needed. It was electric. And yes, unfortunately, the throw that was thrown wasn't accurate. Dwayne Thomas was open for, we said, like probably 3 to 5 seconds. And Davi saw him late, and it forced a pick, and that loses UCF the game, where really you had at least a tie in the bag if you don't turn the ball over. These are the things that frustrate people like me. Because like I've always said, I've said from the beginning, this is a developmental year. You guys have to understand that. People called me out and were like, well, we should expect more. And I said, you should. But this is a developmental year. I give the guys credit because they fought. They played much better than they did last week. Again, that is a very low bar, but they did. The issue is it's frustrating to see a team lose games like this consistently. And it's frustrating to see a team like this continue to make these same mistakes. Those are things that I get frustrated on and I get nervous about. At the end of the day, pre-snap penalties. We've been talking about pre-snap penalties and those type of problems for the entire season. Oh, we got to work on them. Well, they're not getting worked on clearly enough because there was multiple times, I think on every single drive, there was basically a penalty by the offensive line or an illegal motion or a hold. And those things kill you. They kill you. Tonight, UCF had 9 penalties for 75 yards. And yes, we're not going to kid ourselves here. The referees were awful tonight. It's not really a big talking point of the game. They missed 3 or 4 calls that I think were just, clear as day, but I'm not going to get into it. It doesn't really have any effect on the game. There's so much. I think this episode needs to be a grander view because the post-game, if you want to see really my out-of-game thoughts, go to the post-game live show. I think this is more so, we're going to talk about the game, and we're talking about it right now. I think it's very apparent. There's a couple things that we learned tonight that maybe there were still some rumbling, some question marks. I think tonight was very, very obvious. Number one, I don't discredit that Taven Jackson should be and should have been the quarterback this year. But I also can say at the same time, I think we have learned that Taven Jackson, if you want to become what you want to become, Taven Jackson will not be your starting quarterback next year. From everything I've heard, UCF will be going after another quarterback. I know people don't want to hear that because I think the portal quarterback tiredness is here and nobody wants to continue going after portal quarterbacks. But at the end of the day, you need to find a quarterback that fits this scheme. And in the Scott Frost offense, I know it's going to sound basically like us, you need a quarterback that can run the football. A reason why bringing in Davi helps so much is because it did provide that extra spark. And it provided that extra element of an offense. When stuff breaks down, you have a guy that can put on the burners and go get you some yards. And like I said, Taven can do that, but it's just not the same. At the other end, though, Davi didn't throw the ball very well. He had one throw. We've seen him throw it for in a couple games, and he doesn't have necessarily the best accuracy here. We haven't really seen much though, so we can't, just say he's not a good thrower of the football. But I think it's safe to say Taven is not your starting quarterback next year, and I think that is apparent. I think it's safe to say that you need to go get more running backs because you are down to, I think, 2 healthy ones right now. You need backs that can do different things. Right now, you do not have a difference in backs. They're all the same. I think you need to go out and get a different style of running back. You can get a big bruiser. You can get a speedy guy. You need to go get different guys. You need to go out and get offensive linemen. And you need to also go get them in the freshman class and develop them because it is hard to come by top-tier offensive linemen in the portal. You need to develop them yourself. Defensively, the defense has been so impressive and has been outstanding. Do they give up some stuff? Yes. But at the end of the day, they usually are really good. Now, I'll say this. People wanted to come at me because I didn't like the last drive of the game where they just gashed UCF running the football, and I can understand that. UCF was dealing with injuries on that side. Braden Marshall was hurt. There was a couple guys banged up. There's been a couple guys banged up, so I get it. At the end of the day, the defense was getting gashed in the most important, crucial part of the game. I don't really blame them. I mean, they only technically gave up 23 points in this game because Taven Jackson threw one of the, again, worst interceptions of the season, a pick six right to Houston. So the UCF defense gave up 23. The UCF offense scored 20 points today. So Philip Dunham had himself a day, went crazy. Lewis Carter, how many tackles did he end up having? 15 total tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle for loss. The UCF defense came to play. And Alex Grinch, I don't think anybody needs to worry about him leaving, but Alex Grinch continues to kind of be the guy that gives UCF fans some hope. Connor Wegman was not that great today because obviously Philip Dunham really had his way with, reading him. I think it's a very interesting talking point that the whole goal of this season is to build your culture. And I said it on Game On this afternoon with Bianchi and Kravitz, and I said, listen, I think Scott Frost has done what he was supposed to do. I think the culture is not solidified, but they've implemented the culture that they want out of this team. And even Scott Frost said in the post-game show, he said, we're going to get there. We basically saying maybe it's not this season, but we are going to get there. We are so close. That's what gives you confidence. We are so close. And I get it. Easier said than done. But he's not wrong. In some of these games, Houston, no offense, they're not much better than you. They're 8-2 right now. They are 8-2. And you can make the argument and say they're not that good. What's the difference? Well, they have a quarterback that made plays. Granted, yes, he threw 3 interceptions. Yes, that's a fact. But when it was needed, they were able to run for first downs. They were able to pick up first downs. UCF, let's just look at their third down. Houston had 26 first downs compared to UCF's 13. Houston was 8 of 16 on third down, so 50%, compared to UCF's 5 of 15 on third downs. If my math is right, that's about 33%. They ran 20 more total plays. They had basically 150 more yards of offense. I mean, and here's my thing. UCF's offense was inept in the second half. And we can poo-poo on bringing in Davi Belfort, which I am on record saying I think it was the wrong move. Not the wrong move. Excuse me. It was an idiotic move. Because now that they've done that, you're really putting Scott Frost in a corner. I don't think you can go back to Taven Jackson now. Me and Nick were talking in the press box, and I was saying, we were both saying, listen, if UCF loses this game, do you put in Davi next week against Texas Tech? And I said, I don't think so. I don't think you throw Davi in against the number 8 team in the country. Maybe you start Taven against Texas Tech, and if they lose that game, then you start Davi against Oklahoma State. Let's see what he can do. Scott Frost doing that at the end of this game solidified. You should just start Davi Belfort the rest of the season. See what you got in the kid. See if he's worth your time and energy. Because the season's over. I don't want to be doom and gloom. I don't want to be that. The season is proverbially done. You're not going to a bowl game. Maybe by some miracle, if they beat a Texas Tech or a BYU, okay. The likelihood of it happening is slim to none. You are just not a good football team on the road. They aren't. And frankly, at home, it's been the same song and dance. Like, the other team makes just one or two more plays to really lose you the game. And yes, there was a guy in the end zone wide open, and Davi just missed him. But it's also like, can you really blame Davi? Dude's been sitting on the bench for the last 4 hours, and you throw him in on a game-winning drive to go win it for you? And yeah, like, he was making plays, and he got the ball moving. But man, it's one of those things where you scratch your head and you say, why didn't you make this change at the beginning of the fourth quarter? Like, I get it. Taven was banged up. Well, where did this hamstring come out of all of a sudden? If he was really struggling, don't you think you would have pulled him a little sooner? I don't know. The Space Game magic ends today. It does. It's finally happened where we go in and we say they're probably not going to win this game. And the Space Game magic tried. It tried. It gave you a muff punt, gave you 3 interceptions for the defense, but this shows you just how bad the offense has been and how hard it is for these young players to really understand scheme. And Scott Frost has been very open and honest and transparent, saying like it's pretty hard for him to like introduce new concepts because they're so young and they don't want to throw too much at them. Stuff like that makes you be like, you have to get the experience. And like knowing all the guys that are injured for UCF, there's a factor there. And I do get excited about next season because I say, you're going to get a lot of those guys back. And that's exciting. And that's fun. But right now, it's not a lot of fun. It's a lot of losing. It's a lot of losing games that you have an opportunity to win. And that's the frustrating thing. And to sit your starting quarterback with 2 minutes and 20-something seconds left in the game for the guy that was your fourth-string quarterback coming into the season, I think it's an idiotic coaching move. I'm a proponent in having Davi play. I'm just saying in that moment, I feel like if Taven wanted to, Taven can go out there. But it's almost like the coaching staff said, nope, you rest, we're making a change. I don't know. I think this staff knows they need to go get a quarterback. I think they know that at the end of the day, if they want to win football games in college football, they're going to need to go get a guy. They can't have 3 guys that can play because as we've seen this year, it doesn't work. As we've seen, you need a solid offensive line to make this ship run. They don't have that. They have too many penalties on that side of the ball. Where do we go from here? Well, UCF has 3 more games left. They have 3 more games. If they want to go to a bowl game, they need to win 2 of them. The likelihood of that happening is slim to none, since 2 of the teams they're playing are in the top 10 in the country. Oklahoma State might be a fun little home game where we can all get together for one last time for many, many months and hopefully get a win. But, yeah, it was a rough night. It was really fun at times, and then at other times you scratch your head. I think you can probably see it on my face. I am exhausted. I still have to edit this and post it. I am very tired. So it's probably not the hard-hitting analysis that I usually give, but I'm giving you guys all I got right now. That game drain. The ending was something. But I guess the intriguing thing is, who are we going to see at quarterback in a week from now? Video users got a big yawn. I'm not cutting it out. But no, I mean, that's going to be the real question is, does Davi Belfort start the rest of the year? And I think there's a good chance he does. Even though you're playing Texas Tech, hostile environment, top 10 team. Some of those things, man, that it'll be very interesting to watch. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. UCF loses the space game. They fall to 4-5 on the year. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, do all you do. We greatly appreciate it. Always be sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Guys, get the best lines on FanDuel. College football today, NFL tomorrow, NBA basically every day. The best place to do it is on FanDuel. They have the best lines out there amongst all of the sports books. FanDuel is the best. Use FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Guys, please like, subscribe, comment, share. Do all that you do. We greatly appreciate it. Schedule this week goes back to normal. We'll be dropping our pre-game Texas Tech podcast on Thursday. We also have the live watch-along. So that will be Thursday around, I think the game's at 3:30. So about go live at 3:15. So make sure you make your plans for next Saturday. And maybe, hopefully, we'll see. UCF might get an upset win. Who knows? All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Charge On, presented by FanDuel. We will see you next week.